And hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast.
Hello, my name is Steve Lacy.
And my name is Phil Thompson. We come to you every week. We're a company that does streaming video with streamingchurch.tv. We also do mobile apps, churchapplive.com, and we do website templates and content management and church management stuff with myflock.com. And so we're glad to be here again. We always do these podcasts because we target them to anybody that's involved in ministry. It could be some tech related stuff. It could be just volunteer information and ways to help grow your church in different ways besides tech. But we are talking about tech today. We are in part two of what we started last week on the podcast called Achieving Results Based on Your Streaming Goals. What's this all about, Steve, just to catch everybody up?
So this is about different ministries have different goals for their streaming.
Right.
And so we tried to capture, we've got 6 or so of those. And depending on your goal, you're going to do things differently.
Yes.
So we're highlighting kind of different strategies for achieving certain goals.
And this all revolves around streaming video, which, maybe a lot of people haven't really thought about that. They just thought, well, we'll just do streaming video and let the pieces fly where they may. But there's actually some goals that you can work into this with your streaming video, and you can get better results. So that's the whole idea behind this.
Yes, you're going to get better results if you know what you're aiming for.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And then,
so the old joke or the old saying is if you aim at nothing, you'll hit the target every time. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah.
So
something along those lines. So So these are some, I think, maybe fairly common things that churches have goals for, and maybe we should go over what those are real quick.
Sure.
And then we'll jump into how to achieve those goals. So the goals we had listed. So the first goal, maybe I want to grow my local congregation. And this is probably one of the more common. I just want to get more people through the door.
Yeah.
Second goal, maybe I want to reach the world with the gospel. I'm not necessarily as focused on growing my own goal, but I just want to get the word out to the rest, to people all over the world.
And those are two different, just right off the bat, and we talked about this last week, so you can always go back to our podcast last week. But these are two different goals, and they actually have two different strategies.
Right. So, and they're very different from each other. Yeah. So it's going to be, if you were to kind of employ the tactics of the reach the gospel or reach the world with the gospel goal, you would not be growing your local congregation. So, you implemented the thing. So grow my local congregation, reach the world with the gospel. Number 3 on our list is start another campus. So I know that our church has a vision for multiple churches in town.
Right.
And so this may be either I want to start another church in another part of town, or I may have I want to start a ministry in, I don't know, South Africa or something. I have a heart for a certain different part of the country, and I want to start another campus of my church there. So that's the third goal.
Right.
Fourth goal would be to create just an online congregation. I want to treat my online congregation like another congregation. So I just want to grow this online congregation. I want to gear everything towards it. And so there's some things that you can do to achieve that goal.
Yeah, and you're not real worried, and they're different. You're not real worried about getting those people to come in the facility, right? As like the first goal is grow my congregation. You want those people to come into your church, hopefully if they're local. Okay, so it's totally different.
Yeah. So for example, with the first goal, grow my local congregation, I want people to come for a few times, but I eventually want them to just start coming in person.
Right.
Whereas this goal, I want them to come back online from wherever they are and kind of have a fellowship, worship, all that sort of thing with an online congregation.
Sure.
So number 5 on our list is just provide an alternative for those unable to attend in person.
Shut-ins.
So Yeah. So a lot of people that are brand new to streaming think, oh, that's, why I do streaming is I just want to reach those that can't come because they can't get to church and I don't have a bus to go pick them up. And so I want to let them be a part of it. So that's a common use, or people that are out of town on business or whatever, out of town for the weekend, they can still attend in person. So
That's right.
There's different strategies for maximizing that. And then the sixth one is probably less common here, but I kind of want to promote it, and that's add an additional service to reach those that can't attend on the weekends. So how would I go about, I can't have my worship band and my pastor can't prepare another message for Tuesday evening, but there's some ways and some strategies that I can implement to get a service going in the middle of the week. So,
and this would be online. Yeah.
Right. Online. So, we kind of talked about there's ways to achieve each of those goals. And I've kind of broken the major elements of achieving those goals into 3 different categories. So the 3 different categories are how you market and promote the online service. The second one is what's the message content, both from in the sermon message that's taught, as well as those that are web hosts and doing announcements, that sort of thing. What's the message content? Yeah. And then the third piece is how much do I invest and how do I invest my fellowship online? So we all know social media is out there today and people have fellowship, best friends that they've never met. Actually, my wife has a few of those. Some really good friends that she has never met in person.
Never met in person, but it's all through Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, all that. Yep.
Yeah. So how you foster a fellowship environment online. So you're going to do those 3 things differently depending on your goal.
Right. That's good. So that's good information. So last week we talked about growing my local congregation, right?
Right.
We covered that last week. So, you want to hear that, just go back to the podcast from last week and one before this one, and you can learn more about growing your local congregation and how to put more people in the seats of your church. And we talked about the marketing, right? We talked about marketing and promotion for that, right?
Yes, we talked the marketing and promotion.
We talked
the message content, and we talked the fellowship stuff, investment part of it.
Right. So we covered all that, and then goal 2, reach the world with the gospel. Now we didn't talk about that, did we?
No, we haven't talked about that one yet.
So should we talk about that today? Yeah.
Sure, let's talk about that one.
All right. Okay.
So these are the more evangelical-minded people that want to just spread the gospel in their town, in their state, in their country, in their, across the globe.
And you're not so much worried about getting people to come into your actual facility,
right?
For the most part, because it's going to be hard to get somebody to come over from, England or something like that. It might be a little hard,
right?
To get them in. Okay, all right. Well, let's jump into that. So, reach the world with the gospel. We're going to talk about the marketing for this, how to market this, or at least some ideas. Okay.
Yeah. So marketing and promotion. So since the goal of this is, like, as you mentioned, not getting people to walk through the door, I'm going to expand my marketing to, if it's the world, then I'm going to expand it to the world, or maybe I have a heart for the people in Africa or the people in Australia or people, wherever it may be. I'm going to expand my marketing reach. So, and a lot of things we talked about with the marketing locally, when I'm thinking marketing, I'm thinking digital marketing primarily.
Okay. All right.
Especially for this second one. So with the local one, one of the things we didn't talk about, but I could do some physical marketing. I could put signs up around town saying, attend our service online. Go to this website. Right. Sure. Put some billboards in, put some signs out near the church. Just provide another way for people to be a part of the church rather than walking through the door. But with this, since I'm reaching the world, I'm not going to have the ability to do some physical marketing, but I have digital marketing.
Right. And so that digital marketing would consist of things like Facebook ads, Twitter ads,
Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads.
Okay.
And, since we have a company that does streaming video, we have some experience in this area.
We do.
Yes, and we actually have experience since we're not interested in growing our local business, or we're not primarily focused on growing the local business here. We've got more of a national and international approach. So we found that with any of these avenues like Facebook and Google, I can target my ads. So with Facebook and Google, well, primarily with Google, it's all pay-per-click, PPC ads. So I want to have my ads show up in my targeted region. So if that's the world, then, and the broader my geography, the more expensive my campaign is going to be, because it's going to reach more people, right?
Right. That's the idea.
Yeah. So my Facebook ad and my Google ad is going to, I would just put together a message. And if I'm targeting a particular country, I'm going to put a message together that may appeal to that country. Yeah. I'm not sure how that.
Yeah, I would say if you want to reach the world, I would still, and personally, I would go one country at a time, you know what I mean? Or one region of the country.
Yeah. That's,
but that's, that's for other people to decide what they want to do. But you're right. With Facebook, they've really improved it over the years as far as really targeting your audience, and same way with Google, of course. And so there's lots of opportunities to really just drill down and get more specific about who you're trying to reach. So it's a good tool. It's a very good tool.
Yeah. So you can do that based on geography, and you could even possibly create some topics around, I don't know, national news of a particular nation you're interested in, and word an ad that would be consistent with that, or all kinds of things. So, since my target is global, if it was local, I was focusing heavily on my social networking. So I'm posting on Facebook, and mainly because my network of influence is going to be local. Typically, if you have friends on your social network, they are friends that either in your local area or that you went to high school with or something like that. So, so you would want to, if I'm doing a growing my church thing, I'd really focus on the social networking. I don't think the social networking on how I particularly post or the leaders of the church post is really going to have a lot of effect on, reaching the world.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. So that's the marketing aspect of things. What about the message content? So trying to reach people globally.
If I'm wanting to, tailor my message, some of the things you don't want to do, since I'm reaching the rest of the world, and if I'm broadcasting here in the States and I'm targeting the UK, it's going to be nighttime in the UK when it's morning here. So in my message, I don't want to reference things that are local to my church. I don't want to talk about the weather or the local college or professional sports team. Any city events, anything like that. It's not going to have a lot of meaning for somebody that's attending in the UK.
Sure. And even talking about football, I mean, you talk about football, and it's two different things. Like football is different. It's soccer. However, I will say this, the NFL is having games over, in Europe and in England. They just had a game. NFL had a couple teams play.
Really?
Yeah. So the NFL is expanding just like the NBA is, and even baseball is trying. But so there is some NFL action in England, but what you're saying rings true, and that is, look, you don't want to be talking about things that has no relevance whatsoever, to somebody in London,
right?
So so I think when we're talking about message content, we're talking about those kind of things that might perk somebody's attention in the United States or in Nebraska, if you're going to talk about the Cornhuskers or something, but not, in Liverpool, so.
Right. And we're talking either within the pastor's message, how we do announcements, that sort of thing. So you want to try to just not, not have people raise their eyebrows and go either, what are they talking about? Or what, why did they just finish breakfast? It's 7 o'clock at night, or something like that. So, and then my message would include things that would be appropriate for different cultures or regions or nations. So as I sit down and put my message together, and I know I'm streaming this service, it's going to my local congregation, I would just have in mind that, hey, this thing's getting broadcast, to my targeted country. And I just kind of fold into how I prepare my message, what I'm going to say, knowing that audience is going to be out there.
Yeah, even in some cases, even some illustrations, that you might be using, if you're using illustrations that might not be relatable. In the United States, we have different things that everybody's familiar with, but if they're in a different country, they may not be familiar with a certain illustration that you might be trying to give. So got to keep all that in mind.
Right. And I would think that those that are driving towards this goal are going to be more evangelical in mind. So you may want to tailor your message to be a more evangelical message. I think of more of a, the master who traveled the world with the message was Billy Graham. And he was able to relate, no matter where he was. So he had had a very evangelical message that was going out.
True. Yeah. So. Yeah, there could be room for some other things too, but yeah, I get what you're saying, and that makes sense.
Yeah. So let's see. And then with regard to how I do my fellowship online, and as we talk about this fellowship online, there's the ability to have a web host with our product and some of the other products as well. So that web host is he's like an online greeter or someone out front who's answering questions and kind of directing people where to go. They're the host, they're the online greeter, they're the usher, they're that person. So they're the one that can kind of set the tone for the activity that's going on in online chat. So
yeah, prayer request, and that part I think could be similar in multiple platforms, but I think it's interacting with people. That's the bottom line. And if you can interact with them, and like I said, with us with streamingchurch.tv, we have lots of tools for that, and it's a great opportunity to really just be present. Even though the service is live, you can chat, and you can do private chat, you can do public chat too, for people if they want, and so absolutely, it's. I think that always is very important in everything you do.
Right. So some of the keys that if you're the web host, you're the online greeter, you should provide lots of opportunities because you have an evangelical message, you're reaching the world. Have create a bunch of opportunities to pray online with the viewers.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is you're going to get people with questions. So the web host should be able to answer questions about their faith, because you may the pastor's preaching a certain message, and chat room guy may say, hey, I don't understand that, or what about this? And so
yep, absolutely.
So the web host has just kind of a different attitude when you're targeting kind of a global or international audience.
Right. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. All right. So that's related to goal number 2, and that is, reaching the world for the gospel. So we've got time to talk about the third goal.
Let's do that. So the third one was starting another campus. And actually one of the former pastors at our church brought this up to me as well. And I was like, oh yeah, streaming's a great way to help plant seeds and get things going. So for us, we were looking to plant another church on the other side of town. We're not going to want to plant a church right across the street because we want them to come to our church. But we're in a town that's big enough and we do have people that it's just going to be unreasonable for them to drive 45 minutes to get to church.
Right.
And it's an hour from end to end in our town, at least.
It is. Tucson's very spread out.
Yes. So, but if I want to grow my church and I have a region that I am, targeting, I can use my streaming as a vehicle to help plant that church in another location.
Let's talk about how that works. How would that work?
All right. So marketing and promotion. So this goal, I'm going to target an area immediately surrounding my planned campus. So for us, we were looking at a place in Southeast Tucson. So I'm going to target my Google AdWords and my Facebook stuff to that area within driving distance of that particular area.
All right. Now, just to be clear here, you already have the facility. Am I right about
maybe
that?
not. You might not. Yeah, you might not have a facility.
Okay. All right.
So I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, if you have the facility, then you're going to start having services and recruiting people and that sort of thing.
Right.
So you may or may not have a facility, or you may have, in our case, we were going to kind of merge a much smaller church into our fold. And so they did have a facility. But I don't need a facility if I'm just targeting a particular area and I want to get a presence going in that area. I don't eventually I'm going to need a facility, right?
Right. So the idea is you have people in that area that are watching the online. You've done the promotion and some other things we're going to talk about here, and you've done the promotion and they're watching online, and then you could eventually say, hey, we've got a group of people watching online from this area of town or outside of town. We're going to look into maybe getting a facility and starting a campus. Am I tracking with you on that?
Yeah, I mean, it could be an organic thing where you're just saying, wow, we got a lot of people that attend from over here. Let's go maybe plant a church over there. Or I'm going to be proactive about it and say, I have a heart for this part of town.
Sure.
And so I'm just going to I want to get people exposed to the church, and they're not going to drive across town to come to my church, but I can expose them in other ways to be interested in my church and start attending an online service of my my church here.
Okay.
So one of the things I'm going to do, social media reach could also, we probably have in your social media reach within town, you got people that aren't going to drive an hour to come to your church, but they may go to a church near them, and they're still connected to you. So, so you talked about, you target a particular area. It would be good, even if you don't have a facility, that you have your future leaders are located in that particular area.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
now this gets a little more complicated, and I think takes a little more planning, obviously, and maybe strategizing, but I hear where you're going with this, and I think it's a good start.
So we got a future leader, somebody that looks like it's maybe somebody who's been coming to your church and just says, I've been coming for a long time, and this drive is killing me. I'm not going to come anymore. I'm either going to find another church, or maybe I want to start a new church, or be part of a leadership of another church. So,
sure.
So you're going to want to equip those guys to invite people to the online service that they interact daily with. So maybe give them some business cards that say, hey, attend my church online. And then some of the things we talked about for the physical home church location, I can do there. So I can put some physical signs up, future home of Church XYZ in this, high school or whatever it may be. I can start promoting it and then promote the online part of that. So coming in February 2020, the new campus for Church XYZ, and you have a link to the website. You can attend today online. So,
yeah, good stuff. All right, you got about 3 minutes.
All right, so in that arena, my message content, it's going to kind of share the same kind of things that I have from my local congregation. I can reference morning and city events and college teams and that sort of thing.
Sure.
And then one of the things I'm going to do in my messaging is I'm going to cast a vision for this new location. So I want to, and we're wanting to in February next year plant a church in Southeast Tucson or North Austin or whatever it may be. And I include that in my announcements, my whatever it may be. So
get people to plant some seeds.
Yes. So, and then with regard to the whole fellowship part of that thing, my online host for my current service, they may be located down there. So I set those guys up And so they're interacting with the people that are attending online, and they're noticing where people are attending from. And those that are attending, near the future campus, they look on the map, and, at least on our platform and some other platforms,
Right.
it'll put a push pin on the map where people are attending from, and they can go, "Hey, Joey, I see you're only a quarter mile from where we're going to put the new church in. And, can we have lunch together next week or something? I'll buy you lunch," and, get some feedback on the church and, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. All right.
All righty. So that's kind of wraps it up.
Yeah, I think that's good. We're pretty much out of time here. So what we've covered so far, just to review people quickly, we're talking about, achieving some results based on your streaming goals. And, we said at the top of this podcast, you really need to have goals. And so we've covered the last 2 weeks, growing your congregation, your local congregation. We've covered about reaching the world with the gospel today. And then we talked about starting another campus. So next week, we'll keep moving on this. We'll talk about, the online church congregation and having what that looks like, being really almost separate in some ways. And then we'll also talk about how to reach people that can't attend and how you should strategize for that. And then also, another service, adding how you could possibly use streaming video to add another service, so be it online, but something during the week that wouldn't necessarily require organizing a whole nother worship set and dragging your poor pastor back, So we can talk a little bit about that next week.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, good. So if you have feedback or questions about this, we would love to get it from you. All you got to do is send us an email. It's that simple. support@streamingchurch.tv. And as I always say, if you have problems or complaints, address it to Steve. If you like what we're doing, just tell me, Phil. And I'm being facetious here, but we would love to hear from you. We really would appreciate hearing from you. And look, we're on YouTube. Just look for streamingchurch.tv. We actually have several YouTube channels, don't we? But we've got one that's really focused on the Church Solutions podcast, which is this. So this drink I've been having here, by the way, is a cream soda, in case you want to know. IBC. Not that anybody would think it's something else, but And we're also, you can see our stuff and hear our stuff on any place you get your podcast. Just look for the Church Solutions podcast, or you can just go to our website, streamingchurch.tv. And we've got resources and the audios there, the videos there, and a lot of other things, because we are in this to help you with your church as a volunteer, as a pastor, as a board person, whatever we can do to help you. That's why we do what we do around here, and it's our pleasure to do so. All right, we're out of time, Steve. Thank you so much for this input.
All right, thanks for doing it.
And he is Steve Lacy, and I am Phil Thompson, and we will catch you again next time on another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. Take care.